The following program is made possible by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Cranes are flying over Redwood City, construction cranes, as the city undergoes a building boom the likes of which has not been seen on the peninsula in more than half a century. We talked to the mayor of Redwood City and one of the downtown developers, both of whom are betting that the transformation of the city will pay off. The game is development, the game is on. The game. I'm Mark Simon. Everyone talks about building a dynamic, resident-oriented downtown. Redwood City is doing it. Starting a year ago with the completion of a 132-unit apartment complex on Main Street in Redwood City, the town has been the site of a construction explosion. 10 major projects have been completed or are under construction. And when everything is finished, roughly by this time next year, there will be more than 1,600 new apartments and townhomes, a new 300,000 square foot office building, and a new 280,000 square foot hospital built by Kaiser. Is it too much? Will it make Redwood City better or worse? Will the growth in its downtown make Redwood City the unofficial capital of the peninsula? To address all this and more, we are joined by Jeff G., Mayor of Redwood City. Jeff, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mark.
And Eli Corey, Executive Vice President and Chief Investment Officer for Kilroy Realty, the lead firm behind 900 Middlefield Road, or Crossing 900. The 300,000 square foot complex I referenced before is expected to be completed this fall and occupied by Box Inc., the rapidly growing cloud storage company, as the lead tenant. Thank you both for being here. Eli, thank you for being here. Let's start with the question, why is so much going on in Redwood City right now?
Well, Mark, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. You know, the vision for downtown really was to be a vibrant, walkable city and to really focus construction, housing, retail, businesses in the downtown on the transit corridor so that people didn't need to have a car. And this was really a 20-year process that started many, many years ago. And when you go back to the 70s and 80s, no one was investing in Redwood City. People would just go right past our city, San Mateo, Palo Alto. And we wanted to find a way to invigorate our downtown. And through community planning and all this, it all came to fruition, but it took a long time, and with the economy's ups and downs, it didn't really happen until this latest economy recovery, and it all happened at once.
So it seems like it's happened all at once, but what you're saying is it's taken many years.
Absolutely.
For it all. How did it all manage to sort of converge at the same time? Was that just sort of accidental, or was that the stars aligning? Or
I think it's all of the above. I mean, you know, the downtown precise plan hit a bump in the road. It was delayed by some litigation. We didn't plan for that. That was almost a 4-year delay. Happened at the same time. The recession hit, the banking crisis hit, and then when it all came back out, it came back in a roar. I think there was a pent-up demand. The banking crisis was resolved. Housing was needed, and then the tech economy came back. And so it was all about timing that it just came together all at once. And the good thing about it is, while it's difficult right now, it'll all get done at once too.
Yeah. Eli Corey, the 300,000 square foot office building has become an instant landmark. I guess it's not instant, nothing gets built, but it is now an official landmark on the skyline of Redwood City, and I'm not sure we would have said Redwood City had a skyline just a few years ago. Why there? Why that much space? This is something Redwood City's never really had before, this kind of office space in its downtown.
Yeah, well, the first thing he talked about is why is it coming together now? And if you look back at communities, all of these things take many, many years, and then when they finally come to fruition, it looks like it's happening very fast. Mm-hmm. And then in addition to that, he's correct that we've had an amazing technology run, and from really 2010 on, when the rest of the world was in a financial crisis, the technology companies, particularly in the Bay Area, were recovering. So there's been a great economic run. But it also converges with what's going on with the workforce right now, and it's all about the millennials, and that's an overused term, but it's a real thing. You know, there are millions and millions of millennials coming out of college every year right now, and what are they doing? They're coming into innovative jobs and innovative places and innovative companies. And so that's one of the things, and when we thought about coming here to Redwood City, and we're focused on providing workspaces where this generation really wants to work, where it's stimulating and where it's the right environment for them, where they're happy to be on a day-to-day basis, and that is livable, walkable communities. And what, like Redwood City has done, I think, in my view, an amazing job of becoming, and when it's going to congeal here in a matter of months or a year or so, where that whole community with the apartment base and the amenity base and the workers coming in from Box are all going to come together, and the entertainment venues that are already there, it's just going to be a fantastic city overall. And so, and you add that on Caltrain, in our view, I mean, that's a huge asset for Redwood City. I mean, that's a great stop. There's lots of baby bullets to San Francisco. I mean, it's an asset that Redwood City has that, and you mentioned the scale. So the scale is really important, because everywhere I've looked up and down the West Coast, when you see people who have taken advantage of a really good mass transit system and allowed scale near there, which what it does, it means you can bring jobs into the city during the day without bringing cars into the city. And that's really important. And it invigorates the city and provides that job base. And an issue for Redwood City and economic development is if you don't allow a reasonable scale to get a company like Box or one of the major companies that would really bring some vibrancy, economic vibrancy, tax base to support the schools and all of those kinds of things, you would fall short if you didn't allow. And these are difficult things to grapple with.
Well, we have a little 30-second. We have a map of downtown that shows all the construction underway, and a little 30-second video that shows different parts of it. Garrett can start running now while we talk about it. We're focused on the 300,000 square foot building because the lead firm here is behind it, but it's almost just massive on a different sort of scale. The sheer volume of apartment complexes and the number of people who will be living in the downtown area. I don't know, do you envision people working at Box living in Redwood City and never needing to leave town at all and spending all of their money there?
I don't think all is ever the right word, but what we wanted to do to reinforce the walkable city is to have housing and jobs close to each other. And our economy has shifted such that there's a good portion of our economy that's tech. It's not only Box, it's Shutterfly, it's Evernote, it's Oracle, Electronic Arts. And the traffic in the region, not just the area, but people driving over the mountains, over the passes to Tracy and Stockton. We want to be able to put people close together so they can go car light. They don't have to have 2 or 3 cars. They have 1 car, bike share, Zipcar, Uber, and be able to walk, go to work, go to amenities. And I think as a whole, not just Boggs, but as a whole, when all the parts come together, it will be a very different neighborhood, a very vibrant neighborhood.
Well, it's interesting. I've been downtown on a Friday night when there's a concert going on with members of the council who were on the council when they made the decision to do it. And not only are they thrilled and delighted, but I think even they're surprised at how dynamic it's become as a drawing card. How much can you envision what this is going to be like, and how much of it is subject to surprise?
I think the only thing that has surprised many of us was just how much everything happened so quickly, all at once. There's no question, it's exciting. There are a lot of people out, not only on Friday nights, but on Saturdays, on Thursday night. And I think, where we are now with our downtown precise plan, we're at our limits. There are limits to what can be built downtown, and that was with full intent. And so what we need to do now is let that neighborhood emerge. Let's learn from it, let's adjust to it, and then see if there's another step we need to take. But we need to take a look at where we are now and where it's going and learn from it before we go on to the next step. We're going to take a quick break.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's been over 150 years since Wells Fargo first opened for business. Since then, we've enjoyed your community support, and we're passionate about returning it. Every day, Wells Fargo team members roll up their sleeves and donate their time to organizations and charitable groups throughout the Bay Area. Nationally, we've committed even more. In just the past 2 years alone, we've donated over $70 million to support schools and educational programs. It's a commitment we're proud of. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Welcome back to the game. We're talking about the Redwood City building boom with Eli Corey, who is with Kilroy Realty, is one of the partners in Crossing 900, the 300,000 square foot office building that is nearing completion. It's really become a landmark. And Redwood City Mayor Jeff Gee, who thinks all this is a good idea. Let's talk a little bit more about the vision that you have. Why would you want to put an office building there? You mentioned the accessibility to transit, which is clearly important. I know, and I should disclose, I work for Caltrain and Samtrans. He's on both of our boards, which is why I'm being so nice to him. But one of the things we learn in our industry is that building near transit, property values hold their value longer and tend to be more valuable. But in terms of the people, you know, you're also in a people business. You're not just in a building business. The people who are going to use this, what do you envision their day going to be like? You see most of them taking the train to work. You see most of them eating lunch downtown. I mean, what do you see happening?
Well, yes to a lot of that. And, you know, by the way, historically, I'm a huge Caltrain fan. I've been a long-term Caltrain rider, although I am not currently. But I've ridden it from Menlo Park to San Francisco for many years, and from Palo Alto to San Jose, and all of the stops in between. And so Caltrain is the predominant factor that made it. Well, there's Caltrain, and then there's the fact that the downtown is so close to the Caltrain stop, so that you can really create, and I've seen this in so many other communities up and down the West Coast. Most of them don't have them. There's a few little gems, and I won't name them by name because some people may or may not like those comparisons, but there are some gems where they've really done it right with transportation, with retail, with living options, and bikes, and all the different elements that came together. So for us, again, our mission is to provide spaces for technology and innovative workers that they really want to be in, and where those companies want to be because the workers want to be there. And we looked at Redwood City, and obviously the climate here is great. You know, it's got the historical climate motto, which is a very interesting story in its own right. So I think between Caltrain and the town coming together, and it's a very diverse town. It has a variety of economic levels, and so you're going to be able to have some reasonably affordable housing right near where you work. You're going to be able to have people commute in from San Francisco for the day. You're going to have people who can live here and commute to San Francisco. Box has a facility in San Francisco, so you can have Box employees going between San Francisco and here. So it's the Caltrain stop, and it's the great community right next to it.
There is some concern throughout the region about the cost of housing, the cost of rental units. There was a protest just the other day about rents, rising rent prices. Mm-hmm. Is there a reason to be concerned? What's your vision about that? Because I can see a lot of people beginning to worry that they're going to be priced out of the market as some of these high-tech workers come in here and are willing and able to pay some pretty high rents that are going to transform the rental market in this area.
Right. That's a huge conundrum for the peninsula, because no one city can fix the housing crisis by itself. It is really a regional issue. And we've got the good and the bad in the sense that we are producing housing in our city, not just in the downtown, but in the downtown and the environs next to it, while our neighbors have to do their part too. They can't just create jobs without the housing. And when they're not creating the housing, everyone's going to where the housing is being created, and that's where the economic dysfunction with rents are occurring. On our council meeting the other night, we unveiled a whole series of investment opportunities, three-prong approach of keeping people in their homes, investing in producing housing, rent stabilization, and a number of different programs to encourage more production, that the city will partner, and that we're going to do things to keep people home. And that's a whole nother show that we can do. But one of our great partners, and that's really what it's all about, is that cities can't do it alone anymore. We have to partner. And one of our best partners is Habitat for Humanity. Mm-hmm. We're going to be partnering with them again for their fourth project, and this one is going to be in downtown Redwood City for home ownership. And talking about leverage, we're going to give them some money, and they're going to create 20, if not 30, ownership homes right downtown. Mm-hmm. And we have to do things like that with our partners.
How much is too much? Everything came together at once. Mm-hmm. I suppose if this had been phased in over a 5 or a 10-year period, it was hard to. I opened the show talking about the construction cranes. It's kind of hard to miss in a town that really never did this kind of thing before. You know, have you sort of reached a point where you need to stop and take stock of everything you've done and slow things down and maybe stop for a while?
Well, I've been very clear. We do need to take a pause. We have limits. We're at those limits. I'm not interested in changing those limits or increasing them until we get a feel for how this new neighborhood is going to work, how it's going to affect our city, how it's going to contribute to our city. And then from those lessons learned, we can then begin a community conversation about what's next, if there is another next. The tough part is that we do need to provide housing and we need to provide jobs. We have more people alive at once than ever before. I've been invited to a birthday party next Sunday for a young man who's turning 107.
Oh my goodness.
In November, we had a young woman come to a council. She turned 108 and she's still living at home by herself. And the children that are being born today, doctors are telling me they can live to 120. No, she's not driving, but she's very mobile and very smart. And so we've got to figure out how to have housing for families, for multiple generations, and the jobs to support that. And I think we're doing a good job of that in Redwood City, but we have to keep looking ahead for the next generations.
Is that sort of your view? You can either stand pat or move forward, and if you stand pat, you're falling behind?
Well,
I mean, a lot of people don't want Redwood City to be having the kind of changes that are taking place that you're part of.
yeah. No, I think it's right to take a pause and evaluate where you are before you move forward to whatever next phase that might be. But that next phase is going to be continual improvement in the quality of life for people who want to enjoy Redwood City. I would like to take this opportunity to talk about, for example, what you just talked about in Habitat for Humanity. I'm involved with a philanthropy called Reading Partners, which is very involved here in Redwood City. And what we do at Reading Partners is we go into Title I schools and we take children who are falling behind grade level and very intensively intervene on their behalf to bring them up to grade level. And we're in 5 schools here in Redwood City, and we're in many other schools throughout the peninsula. And Janet Christensen, who's the superintendent here now, is a very big supporter of us. And Campbell, who's the superintendent of San Mateo County, is a big supporter of us.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
We'll come right back to it, I promise, but we're going to have to take a break here.
Okay, perfect.
Pay attention to our sponsors. Pay attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back.
It's been over 150 years since Wells Fargo first opened for business. Since then, we've enjoyed your community support, and we're passionate about returning it. Every day, Wells Fargo team members roll up their sleeves and donate their time to organizations and charitable groups throughout the Bay Area. Nationally, we've committed even more. In just the past 2 years alone, we've donated over $70 million to support schools and educational programs. It's a commitment we're proud of. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Welcome back. I'm Mark Simon. This is The Game, and we're talking about Redwood City's building boom. We have Redwood City Mayor Jeff G. here and Eli Corey from Kilroy Realty, one of the builders of Crossing 900, the big office building in downtown Redwood City. And you were talking about the Reading Partners program and not only your engagement, but I gather Box, your lead tenant in the building, is somebody you've approached about participating in this project. The point being that there's an opportunity here for impact on the community above and beyond jobs and residential units, but as a participant, as a citizen of the community.
Oh, absolutely. So what Reading Partners does is we intervene deeply by providing children who are falling behind grade level with individual tutors. And what a lot of the companies are doing now is they want to provide financial support and they want to provide volunteer opportunities for their employees and other resources if they can provide it. And so Kilroy has been a big supporter throughout Silicon Valley and San Francisco of Reading Partners. I'm the chairman of the board of the Silicon Valley chapter, so we're both personally involved. But Box 2, we're already in conversations with them for here in Redwood City because we have a deep need here in Redwood City for more volunteers and their employees. They're very excited about being a base to draw upon for volunteers, that if we had more volunteers, we could serve more children. And so I'm sure it's going to be a great collaboration as it all comes together. It's going to provide money and resources. It's going to benefit the children in our communities right here. And so it's a wonderful collaboration. It's the kind of collaboration that's only possible when you create this whole kind of soup that has been created here with the resources that are available to use throughout the community for improvement.
Well, that must be something you're hoping for, is that this isn't just dollars and cents, but it...
Absolutely, Mark. I mean, this is perfectly in alignment with an initiative that's coming before Council this spring that's called Partnership Redwood City. We want our builders, our developers, our businesses, or the employees engaged as a partner in Redwood City. So there'll be a policy statement that comes out of the council, and there'll be a menu of choices, because everyone has a different style.
When you say menu of choices, you're going to go to these companies and say, here's the list, pick
That's
one,
correct.
Pick two.
Or three, or
You're not going to
four.
be here in Redwood City without participating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We want them engaged in the community, to be a partner, whether it be with education, other things. We want them to be a part of our Redwood City family. We want to see them out there. We want them engaged.
Okay. Let me ask you first, Eli. You see this spreading in all the other cities? I mean, we all work up and down the peninsula, and some cities are watching. Some cities, I think, if their council members were asked, why aren't you doing what Redwood City's doing, would say, what are you, crazy? That's not the kind of town we are. In some cities, I think San Bruno might be one of them, that is thinking this is maybe a good model for them to revitalize their downtown, which is at a point Redwood City's was maybe 35 years ago. Do you see other cities, I know I don't want to put you on the spot of picking which city might do this, but is this something you see other cities perhaps emulating?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's kind of three different segments, perhaps. Cities where it is possible, and then they have a choice. They either do it or they don't. And then there are, not every Caltrain station is in the favorable position that Redwood City was. And so it's not like each Caltrain stop, can try to do can replicate what Redwood City has done. So I think there will be a couple of more. I think there will be cities who are saying, we just like it the way that it is. It's good enough. And those are the ones that are already, pretty affluent and have been pretty static for a long period of time. And I think we'll see some good improvements. But in my view, as I said before, Caltrain is an amazing asset for the peninsula, for the whole Bay Area, that we should develop it as completely as we possibly can for the benefit of the people on the peninsula and San Francisco, and for the health of the technology company here, economy here, for the health of the overall economy, for getting drivers off the road, and for creating places, communities where you can have livable and walkable types of urban villages, if you will, and if urban is too much, suburban villages. But I think continuing to develop Caltrain as much as possible, and you're very involved with that, so I'm sure you're a great advocate of that. To move the peninsula forward is what we should all be doing.
Urban's a loaded word around here, but Redwood City is clearly becoming an urban center by doing this. Is that something, you know better than I do, that's a change that a lot of people can find very discomforting.
Yes.
So how do you manage that? How do you reassure people? Is it, do you see increasing urbanization on the peninsula?
That's a loaded title of urbanization. I think what we've been able to do is to protect our residential neighborhoods by focusing growth and development, and particularly housing, on the transit corridors. The single-family residential neighborhoods, we're saying don't go there. Put it by the Caltrain corridor, put it by El Camino Real, where Samtrans and Caltrain are doing the heavy lifting. The interesting dynamic now, when we talk about affordable housing and the millennials, is everybody wants the same thing now. They want the urban lifestyle, they want accessibility to services, they don't need to have a car, they want public transit. So the millennials that are entering the job force want that. That's why affordable housing used to be traditionally located, and now the seniors want it. So they're all fighting for the same access to that urban lifestyle, and so we are trying to focus it right there downtown on the transit corridor. And we have to find that right balance. And that's why that pause is very important before we even think about going to a next phase. But we've done this very thoughtfully and strategically to protect our neighborhoods. Stay out of the neighborhoods, focus downtown on the transit corridor, and let's see what we can do.
One of the things that helped, I think, in Redwood City is that your downtown doesn't have residential immediately abutting it.
Correct.
I mean, some of the other cities where you've been involved with the Grand Boulevard Task Force, where we talk about that.
Yes.
Well, San Carlos is a good example where, as Samtrans tried to put up a development that's adjacent to a residential neighborhood. So I would think that would be another factor, wouldn't it, Eli, in terms of a city being able to go forward, is what sort of political resistance are they going to get from the residents?
Yeah, that's, I mean, obviously having the developed area compatible with the surrounding area provides an easier barrier to accomplish that, and none of us get to start from scratch here, so that's always difficult. Every single community that I see grapples with essentially the same problems, and they grapple with them in much the same way. You have all of the same interests, and they come together in different ways, but these aren't easy problems for anybody to solve. I'm very proud of what Redwood City has done. I think when we dealt with them, they were a very strong advocate on behalf of the community, but we were fine with that because when we invest in a community, we're there for years and years and years. We're not in and out. We're not a merchant developer. We own properties for 20, 30, 40 years, and we want to be part of the community, and we want to be part of a community where people want to be long term because that's healthy for our properties.
And that's a good place to stop. Redwood City Mayor Jeff G., Eli Corey from Kilroy Realty, thank you for being with us today to talk about downtown Redwood City, and thank you for joining us, and join us next time on The Game.